Greetings all, Ferrari Man 601 here. In the last week, the FIA have unveiled plans to us for a Grand Prix in Vietnam. Yes, Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, is going to host a Grand Prix beginning in 2020. Of course, that means we have to have a circuit in Hanoi on which to race, and of course, the FIA have dutifully unveiled plans to the public for said circuit. It's a street circuit. It's going to be running straight through the middle of Hanoi, and courtesy of Notka here, we do have the ability to try it out in Assetto Corsa. Notka released this version of the Hanoi Street Circuit over on Race Department. A link to this track is going to be in the description. It's not going to be winning any beauty contests, nor do I believe it to be particularly accurate, but this is the first version of the Hanoi Street Circuit that we have available to us in sim racing. Basically, the inaccuracies that are arising from this come from the lack of data about this track. I think he has done the best job he possibly can do given the extremely limited knowledge that we have of the actual lay of the land here. Nonetheless, it does give us the opportunity to try it out and get a sense of what it is we're playing with. From a bird's eye view, this is the Hanoi Street Circuit. You can see it is very elongated. It does sort of have, shall we say, reminiscences of Malaysia in some respects in terms of how elongated it is. I see a little bit of Valencia, the Valencia Street Circuit in this. I see a lot of the proposed Miami GP layout, the plans for which apparently have fallen through. But it is also a unique kettle of fish all unto itself. The track is designed by Herman Tilke, which of course means that we have a lot of very slow stop-start Mickey Mouse sections, but we also do have 3 reasonably long straightaway blasts, so perhaps we could get some dive bombs into those very tight, very narrow second gear hairpins that Herman Tilke seems to love very much. Regardless, let's take a little bit of a look at what we have got going on here. Coming back down toward ground level. This is the start-finish straight. We will begin the lap, obviously heading in this direction. We'll be accelerating up through the gearbox here into 8th gear, probably up to 320, 330 clicks or so before we break into 3rd or 2nd gear for this very tight left-hander. We'll go around here, and then immediately it leads into this very, very long right-hander. Initially it'll be slow, but the cars will be able to accelerate somewhat around the entire radius of this, probably topping out in 5th gear or so around 230 clicks before immediately we've got to jump on the brakes again for another very tight corner, another left-hander, which immediately leads into this right-hander. Most likely accelerating all the time through here up into 8th gear. We have a very long straight here, so well up into 8th gear, probably around 330, maybe even 340 clicks, depending on how the teams ultimately set up their aero. Braking here for this very tight complex. Initially, we have got a right-hander, which we'll probably be taking once we're up to speed in 3rd gear, and then braking down into 2nd for this very long left-hander, as we can see here. There's going to be no overtaking through here, of course, because this is a very narrow bit of tarmac, and there's only one line around it, but accelerating out here, a little kink off to the right, well up into 8th gear once again. Another couple of kinks as we go down this straight. Again, this will all be taken flat out. This section may be a breathe off of the throttle going into this gradual right-hander, or maybe not. The cars probably have enough downforce to take this flat. Accelerating all the time now into another very tight hairpin. This is going to be maybe even 1st gear. This is going to be taken at maybe even 40 kilometers an hour. No overtaking through here either. Accelerating out through this left-hand kink. Again, most likely back up into 8th gear. Braking now for this right-hander, which is, again, reasonably tight. This will be 2nd or 3rd gear. Accelerating up through here. A little bit of elevation change is evident here. And then we get into the very tight stuff. Walls on either side. We've got some runoff here off to the right. Reasonably tight left-hander again. We'll be able to accelerate a little bit through this right-hander and then back onto the brakes. This is probably 4th gear for this moderately long left into this moderately long right. This opens up a little bit, so we'll be accelerating probably up into 6th. Little dab on the brakes here, probably back down into 5th, and then this corner is tightening, so down into 4th before we get back onto the throttle here. This kink will be flat. Position ourselves for this next corner, which is actually pretty long but reasonably open, so perhaps fourth or fifth gear. Tightens up again toward a second apex. This will be in second gear. This is quite tight. Then accelerating back out down to the start-finish straight from whence we began. That'll be a lap of the Hanoi Street Circuit. The car with which we're going to be doing our explorations today is this. The Assetto Corsa Racer version of the Ferrari SF71H. Yes, everybody else so far who has posted a video with this track has used RSS Formula Hybrid, and yep, that's a pretty representative car, but I'm going to use this one because, well, we can, and I haven't seen anybody else do it yet. Of course, I've never turned a lap around here, so I have no idea what we need from the car in terms of setup. So I've just loaded up one of my old setups, and we'll see what this does. We'll take this very slowly. We'll have some exploratory laps to begin with, and then perhaps we'll see where the chips may fall. We're in the pit lane, of course. I don't know where pit out is. It's going to dump us out somewhere in that turn 3 long right-hander thing. So we'll figure all of that out as we go along. Big bump there. And another big bump coming onto the racetrack. So we've been dumped back out here past turn 1 in that long right-hander and now into this left-hander. We can accelerate a bit now. Of course, the textures here, they're very rudimentary. It's very difficult to get your bearings. You have no sense of speed at all. Of course, all of that will be remedied once we do get some more data from this place. Some of this circuit actually doesn't even exist yet. It's yet to be built. Let's see. Yeah, the draw distance is just a little strange. I can't quite see far enough ahead to know where we are. Yep. There's that very tight left-hander. Lots of runoff here, though. And lots of bumps once you leave the circuit. Alright, so that's what the approach to this looks like. You want to be over here, and then this is going to be first gear. This is extremely tight. Accelerating back out. Third gear, second gear. Very narrow section now. Circuit opens up a little bit. Tightens up toward the second apex. And now this is start-finish. I think it is. No, it's not. But yes, it was. Yeah, I have no idea where I am, in case you haven't figured that out by now. Yep, this is turn 1. And then this is the long right-hander again. So 14.5 minutes is my current lap record here. Let's see if we can better that. No promises. Yeah, I have no idea where we are. I have no idea where I need to be positioning the car. Here. I want to be over on the right. Remember that from last time. That's extremely tight. 60 kilometers an hour at the apex. Brakes, brakes, more brakes. Yeah. Yeah, the corners are all extremely tight for the most part. Just trying not to overshoot the first corner this time. And this thing, the left side tires are just going to be crying through there. Well, we're up 7 seconds in Sector 1. Again, I don't have my bearings at all yet. First gear. It's nearly as tight as the hairpin at Monaco. Section here gets quite tight. Barriers get pretty close. There's the pit entrance. This is the final corner. Consider it double apex, I suppose. Let's give ourselves some electric boost. 141.889. Here's DRS. DRS. I don't know if these are actually the DRS zones that'll be used. Not sure if Formula One entirely knows where the DRS zones are going to be. First gear. And now accelerating back out. That's much tighter than it should be, but there it is. And the final corner. Seven, 2, 1, 3. This thing, it's so long that I think you might have to call this the Hanoi 500. It's such a long friggin' corner. NASCAR would be proud of that. Brakes. Yeah, lots of learning going on right now. Lots of wondering why this thing is here, to be honest. Initial impressions, well, from a driving perspective, now that I've turned 5 laps around it, so I've got some degree of circuit knowledge, hardly enough, but there's a little there. It's not a complete blank slate anymore. It's not awful to drive, which is strange because usually these street circuits are absolutely calamitous from a driving perspective. This is almost reasonable. Sector 2 isn't bad. Sector 3, where we are now, actually has some nice flow to it. Sector 1 by far is the most boring part of it because you have a lot of speed, begin with a lot of speed here down start finish, and then you got to slam on the brakes for a second gear hairpin. And then immediately you're into this third and fourth gear round the world merry-go-round reverse NASCAR nonsense, which immediately leads into this tight left-hand nonsense, and then you can get back on the power. You've wasted 20 seconds of the lap just trying to negotiate the first two corners. They could probably do well with just making it a straight shot. Completely overshooting that complex there. Those are always the things I don't understand about Hermann Tilke circuits. Why does he choose to put these extremely slow kinks right before the main part of the corner? It doesn't help overtaking. In fact, I would argue that corners like those are the reason why cars can't follow each other into corners, because it forces them all into one line before they take the main part of the corner, which means that they can't go side by side. Hermann Tilke has done this on almost every circuit he's designed, and on almost every circuit he's designed, the racing is pretty bad. People say that problem is due to aero. I definitely don't agree with that. Sure, aero doesn't help. You get a lot of turbulence off of these cars nowadays, but I would argue that if you gave the guys more lines to run into a corner, they'd be able to run side by side. Let's see. Fourth. And immediately we got a brake. And back onto the power. Here, let's not overshoot it. Brakes. Gotta wait forever to get back on the throttle. DRS. Brakes. First gear. Accelerating out. Getting a fuel warning. Sector 2, again, it's not awful. Gotta remember where you are, though, because this section in particular, the S's, where everybody has already said, oh wow, it's just like Suzuka. No, it's really nothing like Suzuka. And all the corners look exactly the same, so you've got to remember which ones you've already driven through. Really what's just hurting me now is just the data that we don't have from the circuit. I don't really have landmarks to go off of, so picking braking points, particularly at the ends of the long straights, that's the hard part. Again, that will get better with time as we get more information about this place. It's just so tight right up until the corner ends. Can't get on the throttle. That's by far the worst corner on the circuit, right there at the end of Sector 1. This hairpin I can live with. And the run out of it actually is not too bad. And you get through here. And we get into the S section. Probably gain a lot of time through here. Again, still learning exactly where the road is. Then into the final corner. And that's wide. Yep. Understeer wide. And finally on the power. The worst corner on the circuit. Just look how long you have to wait. The S's. Definitely steal more time through there. And the final corner, which we can carry a lot more entrance speed into. .33.256. Again, going wide. And there's the wall. Yep. There's the other problem with long corners like that. There's nowhere to recover to if it does get out of shape. Yeah, there is time to be gained here, for sure. And now the pit entrance is right here. Bump. Let's see, another big bump. Do we ever get a speed limiter? No, we don't. Where's our pit box? Do we even have one, or is that not here yet? I don't see a pit box for us. Yep, we don't have one. Alright, so to repair that damage, we're just going to have to quit to pit lane and do that again. Alright, that's fine. Let's just see if there is anything else we could do here. 133.256 is our best so far. Bump. Yep. Definitely time to be gained. Right, having done 10 laps of this place so far, what do I really think? Do we have overtaking opportunities? Well, down here at the end of this straight, certainly there's an opportunity to outbrake somebody. Problem is, if you get it wrong, you're going to have an absolutely colossal accident. All through Sector 2, there's going to be effectively no overtaking because all these corners are tighter than they seem and they've only got one fast line through them. Final corner. definitely carry more speed there on the entrance. On the brakes for turn 1. Get on the power. Bit of oversteer there. Again, this corner isn't really fast enough to get the aero working well. So it's going to be all mechanical grip. The tires will be absolutely shot after about 3 laps. Brakes. It's the end of sector 1. Again, it's just that corner at the end of sector 1. It's just stop-start. That left-hand kink to it before the right-hand kink to it, rather, before the actual corner. It's just so pointless. It doesn't need to be there. That's what's going to kill any run that a driver gets. .31, 117. Brakes. See, this corner does not need to be there. This one, it's just a double apex hairpin. That's no problem, but that kink before it just kills your momentum. I suppose it also begs the question of why have a Grand Prix in Vietnam? It's been for over 10 years now, actually a little longer than that, that Formula One fans all around the world have been asking the FIA, please, can we get Imola back? Please, can we get Magny-Cours back? Please, can we get Istanbul back? And the FIA says, oh yes, we care about your concerns deeply. To remedy this situation, we give you Vietnam. Like, what? I mean, I don't know about you, but when you look back through the history of motor racing, no survey of the illustrious history of Formula One can be complete without mention of the extremely important contributions of Vietnam. No, not even close. Vietnam has no history in motor racing. We've never had a Vietnamese driver, to the best of my knowledge. Of course, that's not to say that new venues don't have a place on the calendar. But at the same time, when it's a new venue at a circuit like this, which is another street track, street circuits are not at all in the DNA of Formula One. Yes, we've always had Monaco, and in the past we've had places like Detroit and Long Beach, and all of those are fine circuits. But to get more and more street circuits to the expense of places like Imola or Magny-Cours or Istanbul even, which of course wasn't on the calendar for all that long, but it was a fantastic track. And now the FIA talking about, well, the British Grand Prix might not even be safe. The British Grand Prix? Really? To be replaced with what? Vietnam? That's sacrilege. It does make me worry about the future of Formula One. But enough pontificating. I've definitely hit a wall. I can't seem to break out of the low 30s. I'm sure by the time 2020 rolls around and Mercedes is able to generate 9.5G through the corners, the pole position time here is going to be probably about 42 seconds, but, you know, for the moment. Just see the understeer all the way through. Well, this again seems to be the limit of my potential for the moment. Again, with just 15 laps under my belt, trying to get a sense of where the road is and how tight the corners are and things like that. Certainly it's a very cool thing to be able to sample a still to be completed racetrack. Although I must say, this particular racetrack is leaving a lot to be desired from a standpoint of drivability and a standpoint of raceability. Again, I really don't see too many opportunities where guys could get side by side. Run 30.844, personal best. After 16 laps, being able to put in a time like that, not bad. Track knowledge, now I would call it rudimentary, but existed. Big stop. And the pit lane. Again, I have no idea where the limiter line will actually be. I'd have to assume at this point would be under the limiter. And we've basically killed our crewman there. That's okay. But in any regard, yeah, that is the very primordial ooze of the Vietnam Grand Prix in the Hanoi Street Circuit. Best lap time for us this time, a 1:30.844. Considering our first lap was 14 and a bit minutes, that's reasonable. I mean, it is what it is. It's another Tilcadrome. It's another street circuit in cars that are way too big and way too heavy to be thrown around properly on a street circuit. So in terms of what the racing action is going to be like, I'm not optimistic at all. It's probably going to be another procession along the lines of Sochi. Again, people complain about Sochi. People complain in general about the number of these street circuits now on the calendar, but Formula One management doesn't appear to care about that. They don't care about the classic venues either. I mean, this week the British Grand Prix has come under intense scrutiny. The British Grand Prix, where the first ever Formula One race was held, could no longer be on the calendar by the time we get to Vietnam in 2020. That is a very sad thought indeed. And if you want to bring in new venues, I'm all for it. I think it's a good thing to expand Formula One into different regions, also to add races to the calendar. I think it's a good thing to do, but don't do it at the expense of classic races, which do have a history in the sport, and the fans look back on that history and they appreciate it very much. Don't give us Vietnam at the expense of a place like Silverstone. That's the only thing I caution Formula One management and Liberty Media about as we move forward with these plans for the Vietnam Grand Prix. In terms of a circuit, it's not terrible to drive. Sector 2 is a great challenge. Sector 1 is frustrating, but again, we'll see. The pole position time here, again, it's hard to predict because we're 2 years removed from it and we don't really know what the 2020 cars are going to be like. So I don't know. I'm able to do a 130 and change pole position time. Whoever's the front runner in 2020 may well be in the 125-ish range. So certainly there is more time to be found here. Of course, we can't really predict because we don't know the ins and outs of the 2020 regulations or the tires quite yet. But that's what I have got here from Hanoi. And again, it is very cool to be able to sample a brand new track, parts of which aren't even built yet here in Assetto Corsa. So very cool to do that. I will leave you with hot laps from Vietnam here in the SF71H. Please stay tuned for those. Until next time, though, thank you all very much for watching. Ferrari Man 601 saying thanks, and of course, we will see you soon.